Are young men quietly quitting on women? Yes, of course. Why wouldn't they? Why quietly? Because they have seen men get lacerated publicly for saying what's on their mind, so they just quietly check out. No one's business but their own. The truth is that the typical attractive modern woman of today is out of reach anyway. In every movie you see, regardless of how recent or how old it is, the lead character is either the most attractive woman or the most attractive man, who is incapable of wrongdoing and who works to uphold justice in society. The evil men and villains are always aged, gorgeous, scarred people who look awful. It should therefore come as no surprise that neither men nor women would want to consider hiring attractive women, because if a woman made a false complaint against a man, everyone would assume that she was telling the truth. Everyone can see a guy trying to flirt with a beautiful woman, since after all, that is how it has always been. For example, in an office, two male co-workers could legitimately be making jokes among themselves without targeting anyone, and they could be condemned for it as harassment. Then, all of a sudden, HR is after them and interrogating them about everything. Men are wary of shaking hands with women out of concern that she could view it as harassment. Avoiding touch altogether would be easier. People's perceptions of acceptable and inappropriate workplace interactions are distorted. The study's thorough debunking of the notion that men lack a clear sense of what constitutes unacceptable behavior, however, is what makes it so intriguing. The first step taken by the researchers was to examine 19 acts and determine whether or not to categorize them as harassment. Sending explicit emails to subordinates is an example of this. Both genders largely agree on what harassment entails, and the majority of men and women, respectively, are aware of what it is. One of the authors of the research told the Harvard Business Review that it is mostly inaccurate to suggest that men don't realize their behavior is inappropriate, and that women are making a mountain out of a molehill. If anything, women define harassment more broadly than do males. Most males are able to distinguish between a lovely hug and a wicked one. They are fully aware of what is considered harassment. They are fully aware of what is considered harassment. On the other hand, from the perspective of a woman, anything is harassment. If a line manager asks a subordinate or junior team member to stay late at the office for an hour, she can create a scenario in which she is seen with the manager in the CCTV cameras as he speaks to her and gives her instructions on how to approach a specific project, and she can then essentially fabricate a story about how he was trying to harass her. And you know what? HR would believe the woman. It makes sense that males would want to avoid being alone with women in order to avoid any potential problems that could endanger their entire careers. And because they feel left out, women have started to protest about this. They are no longer expected to work harder on projects and finish them in the office's wee hours of the morning. Because they know their professions won't be in jeopardy, people would prefer to ask men to stay late and work with them. Men would rather stay away from the drama and gossip that women bring to office spaces. Women are also left out of the team's private and confidential meetings when important information is exchanged. For instance, if I had to share anything with a coworker in a cramped conference room alone, and I had to go with someone, I'd prefer to pick a man, since I understand that inviting a woman into a confined space might seem odd to others. Not just in America, but also in Europe, England, and other countries. The detrimental repercussions of Me Too are still being felt in the corporate sector. As long as they continue to overreact to the movement and make the sort of unfounded accusations that we regularly see in the media, males will continue to shun working alongside women. Unfortunately, most women bring gossip and drama to the workplace, which is not appropriate. And so, with all of this, modern women are somehow angry that men are avoiding them at work. They don't realize why. They don't realize that for a man, his work is everything. It feeds his family and keeps his house running. For a woman to make false allegations to take away that is reason enough for men to avoid women at work altogether. Truth is, men aren't just quiet quitting women at work. They're doing it in real life. Why wouldn't they? Why quietly? Because they have seen men get lacerated publicly for saying what's on their mind. So they just quietly check out. No one's business but their own. Latest polls conducted at European organizations have revealed that one of the major reasons men have been slowly quiet quitting is because of women. Guys have anonymously revealed that they're totally demotivated to work hard now because they either have female bosses who don't know how to run departments, or they have female colleagues who only create unnecessary drama at the workplace. I'm sure thousands of men have faced the consequences of being with women who have made false allegations against them, ruining their image and reputation, and essentially their lives, by making them unemployable in their industries. All of that leads to men quiet quitting at work, barely doing the minimum, knowing that whatever they do, they're only going to land in trouble because of their female bosses or colleagues who are masters at playing office politics. Truth is, men aren't just quitting women at work. They're doing it in real life. Why wouldn't they? Why quietly? Because they have seen men get lacerated publicly for saying what's on their mind. So they just quietly check out. No one's business but their own. Men are afraid they're going to get fired. There's research that was conducted to evaluate the effects and consequences of the Me Too movement a couple of years ago. It found that men are becoming noticeably less willing to approach their female peers in the workplace. According to the report, 20% of men avoid speaking to and interacting with female coworkers privately. A third or more of men stated they would be terrified to be alone with a woman in the study's primary research, which questioned men how they would feel if they were in the office alone with a woman. Why? Well, the main reason is that they just don't want to be in a situation where they're framed for any sort of allegations against them by the women. They don't want to lose their jobs over some women, and it's pretty easy for women to have a man fired from his job these days. It's just one email, call, or conversation away from and with HR. Men will always be guilty in the eyes of corporate authority. Nowadays, until you can prove your innocence, you are guilty. Men are most afraid of this. God forbid, if a woman even alleges untruly that a guy harassed her at work, that man will lose his job and any chance of getting another employment in the future, along with his reputation and self-esteem. That is the enormous advantage that women have over men at work. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that 21% of men said they would be reluctant to hire a woman for a job that needs an intimate connection, like traveling for business. 19% of the males responded that they would be reluctant to hire a woman who was deemed attractive by social norms. This was the result of a survey taken from employees working in a variety of businesses. The survey also noted that similar surveys taken in the past did not garner similar results. In the previous surveys, men were more comfortable interacting with women in office settings. Previously, 15% of men compared to 21% in the later surveys indicated they would be less likely to recruit women for positions that demand close interpersonal interactions. The reality is that men would rather work more freely with other men. This only serves to demonstrate how increasingly wary males have become of women throughout time, especially in the last 10 years, and how much they would prefer to communicate and work with other guys. In cubicles, meetings, and boardrooms, they prefer to work with other males rather than women because they can share information, talk about ideas, and organize their schedules together. This is due to their fear of losing the career they have worked so hard to build over a long period of time. They may lose everything with just one unfounded accusation. In a society that primarily takes into account and believes what women say, one false charge could end up being the villain. So, don't blame men, Men can see what has happened over the years, especially with the advent of the Me Too movement. They don't want to bear responsibility for something they did not commit. They don't want to lose their jobs, status, and position in society.